Forget about it.
Let me ask you something. When I say 90s gaming mascots, who do you think of? Crash Bandicoot? Spyro the Dragon? Sonic the Hedgehog? Banjo-Kazooie? You could think of many, to be honest. And the thing with these mascots is that they became household names in the gaming community. These are all popular franchises that stood the test of time and are still relevant to this day. But what about mascots that fell into obscurity and are, for the most part, forgotten or not known of? There's also plenty of mascots that fall into this category. But today I wanna talk about someone specifically. In this case, a little gecko body known as Gecko. Gex has become my favorite obscure/forgotten mascot very quickly. I did only feel right to talk about him in a video and give him some appreciation. Gex basically took the formula of your typical 3D platformer of the 90s and combined it with pop culture references and one-liners, which you may or may not like, but you gotta agree that there's a clear comedy factor in there that appeals to people who don't wanna take a video game too seriously and just want to play and have a good time while probably eating pizza on a Saturday night. If that doesn't sound like heaven, I don't know what does. Now, before you ask, or if you haven't read the title of the video because you don't like titles or something, I don't know, I'm not you. But I'm gonna talk about only the second game in the franchise, Gex Enter the Gecko. And it's gonna be the N64 version because it felt easier to complete and record footage of, so bear with me. Gex himself, voiced by comedian Dana Gould, who also served as the writer for many of his lines, is pretty much just a James Bond parody. A gecko that is recruited to defeat an evil cyborg known as Res, for what he must travel to the media dimension, a world that exists inside of a television set. All of the levels in this world are TV-based, taking your usual TV series or movie genre and making it an explorable environment for our lizard hero. And your goal here is to collect as many remote controls as you can to reach the final boss, Res. There are 3 types of controls, the ones you get by beating a mission you select at the beginning of the levels, the hidden ones that you must look everywhere in the level for, and the ones you get by collecting as many objects you can in the level. What these objects are depends on what the level is. Some of the controls can be tedious to find since they don't really give you an indication on where you should go to get them after you select the mission. In fact, regardless of what mission you select, you can get any control you want, so the main reason you select the mission for in the first place is to see where the control is. Right off the bat, with the very first level in the game, Out of Tune, which is the cartoon level, we can see some pop culture references already, including Looney Tunes and even Marge Simpson falling from the sky. Of course, these are references that most likely the majority of people will get, but there are some more obscure. When I first played through this level, it gave me major Bugs Bunny Lost in Time vibes, and with good reason. Either way, this is how the whole game goes when it comes to level themes. Among the other types of levels, we got horror, martial arts, space, future, and prehistoric. There's 2 levels with each of these themes in the game. Gex's outfit and voice lines also change depending on which level you're in, as well as the pop culture references. This will probably remind people of Conker's Bad Fur Day, but Gex is not really adult oriented. Well, at least not yet. There's also one exclusive level in the N64 version, which is a world based off of the Titanic, and it's the only level in the entire game where Gex can swim underwater. Considering the PS1 version has even more exclusive levels than the N64 one, it kinda surprised me how this level wasn't in there as well. There's also the boss levels, which for the most part are pretty lame. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the mechanics and the aesthetics, but the fights themselves, except for the last one which I'll get into in a bit, are way too easy and short. There's these sticky dudes who you beat by aiming a blue fire at them, kinda like the Cortex battle in Crash Bandicoot 1. Then there's this big dude who looks very terrifying and who you beat by running away from him in a circle and turning a switch on so he gets electrified and becomes bacon. After that comes my favorite boss in the game, which is a fight against a creature named Mekares, who you battle in Japan. Yeah, that's right, Gex goes to Japan in this game. And if you think he won't come back, just wait until I talk about Gex 3. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. And finally, there's Res, who took me a long time to figure out. And unless you don't care about finding out how to beat him yourself, I recommend skipping this part, because spoilers, you know. So, the first part of the fight isn't really anything too bad. You just gotta run away from him, spin him, avoid him while he's aiming at you, and do so until his second phase begins. And this is where my problem with Res lies. At first, it may seem simple. You just avoid his giant arm and his lasers and hide behind these toxic radioactive barrels until he hits one of them by accident, and that should be it, right? Well, not quite. See, at first I thought I was doing well by following this pattern, but turns out this boss is a pain in the tail. First, we got the location of the barrels. These randomly spawn anywhere in the area you battle Res in, so you could get extremely lucky and get one right next to you, or you could be like me and get one extremely far away. And most of the time, the latter is what you're gonna get. Probably. And second, when I said you had to hide behind the toxic radioactive barrels, that's just the way I thought you had to do it, since it worked for me the first couple of times. And on what was supposed to be the last hit, it stopped working. Turns out, the actual way you're supposed to do this is to stand on top of them and then get away quickly so Res hits them instead. How was I supposed to know this? I will just assume if you try that you will get hurt by the toxic bubbles, but hey, I guess that's my fault at the end of the day. And we also have the bonus levels, which you unlock after collecting a specific amount of silver remotes. And unless you wanna go for 100%, I will recommend you not caring about it since it's pretty much optional. Either way, this game left me with a very good feeling. And it's a franchise that definitely deserved more love, because even though it had a good run of 3 games, 2 of which were even ported into the Game Boy Color with simplified but still decent gameplay, I feel like Gex had a cool formula going on, and I would definitely see him having new games nowadays if the franchise wasn't lost in oblivion. Can you imagine how a new Gex game will be these days? What kind of references and one-liners it will have? Maybe considering how much pop culture has changed compared to the 90s, some people wouldn't really like a modern version of Gex. Or maybe they wouldn't mind. I personally would love to see a new Gex, but let's be real, it will most likely not happen. Still, I'm glad we got the games we got, and I do hope more people check out this franchise. And if you want some advice from me, start with this game, since, in my opinion, it does feel like the most accessible one.